So I want to explain something that a lot of people probably don't know is that mental health is brain health. It's chemistry a lot of times. Sometimes it's relationships. You could be stunted in a terrible place from sexual abuse and be homeless. And that's a lot to cover in a 2-minute video. But my perception is I've been in hospitals close to 60 times, and I've struggled years and years to get the medicines that allow me to actually work a job. And it's kind of scary because it could come back at any time. You know, there's no like cure. It's not cured. It's just I have medicines that are enabling me to work part-time. So I can earn up to $1,400. That sounds like a lot of money. But the thing is about mental health is most people get it in their early 20s, and they have not put many points into the system of Social Security for a disability like that. And, some people have mental health issues that require less care. That it's on a scale from 1 to 10. How bad is it? And I would say mine's a 3 or a 4. Mine's pretty bad. But, someone that's a 7 or 8, they probably can work full time and support a family. I've known men to do that and struggle. They made $100,000 a year. This one guy in a group, his wife was divorcing him because he got manic, and he put a mortgage on the house and bought himself a yacht. That's mania. She couldn't trust him with money. So yeah, that's the backbone of the family, really, to protect people with monetary things in United States especially. But so I was lucky. I got at least a few points in the system. If I didn't have any points, I probably wouldn't get any disability. But I get $900 a month, and then on top of that 14, it sounds like a lot of money, and I am thrilled. Trust me, I'm thrilled. But the problem with that is that our system does not allow for people to really get better, because see, if I could make $2,000 a month, I could afford my own apartment or house, and the thing is if you have paralysis or blindness, you get more money. Usually somebody with a back injury, it's going to happen in their 40s or 50s, and they get a $3,000 a month disability from SSI. But almost everyone with chemistry issues of the brain, we all fall under the umbrella of early 20s, and we don't get much Social Security. And then it's a bad system, because once you get the medicine good enough to work, say part-time, you're not allowed to make enough money to have a place to live. And then we flood the market with homeless people, or we're trying to get HUD housing or subsidized housing and things like that. When the solution is so easy, is just let us work more hours if we have a mental health issue. If I were to get an apartment and I'm making, say, $2,500 a month, and they gave me a $700-800 apartment, which is all I need. If I got sick, my disability check from Social Security would cover the rent. I may not have any money to spend on myself, but I would definitely have a place to live. And the way the system now is, I don't qualify for any apartments because my income's so low, and they won't let me work more hours. They said, no, you can only make $1,400. And that's not really a gauge on mental health so much, because I understand fraudulence in the system, but when you have a person that's on medication, has been hospitalized several times, or in my case, many, many, many times, but I'm working, go ahead and let me work. Let me work until I make $2,000 a month so I can afford a place to live. And it's not costing the taxpayer a penny. In fact, when we do make that money, we'll put that money into the housing, and a private industry will benefit from our work. So we want to be part of the team, but you guys are just kind of cutting us out. And I think it's discrimination. I think in some cases, people don't see the value of people. There's an alcoholic. There's an alcoholic that comes to my job, and they found him in the gutter. And so I laughed. I went over to the policeman. I said, well, maybe you could just lock him up, like Andy Griffith. And they said, we can't do that because, of course, he'll have DTs. So we have to take him to the hospital, and then one of our officers has to stay with him. And you're like, okay, if we're going to treat that guy that way, why wouldn't we treat you that way? So I can't have an answer to this so much, because it would cost money. And that guy probably doesn't have a whole lot to contribute if he's totally, stun-gunned his brains on alcohol. But still, it's something ethical to think and talk about and decide a good course of action on drugs and alcohol and mental health issues. But I do feel like if I'm working and I can work enough to pay an apartment and that money's going to, for me, a place to live, then maybe you just don't even count it and say, okay, she's paying $700 and she earns that. Well, we're not even going to look at that. We're going to look at her making $1,400 and $900 so she can have a car and a phone and food, because I don't qualify for food stamps. But yeah, just if we can file a lease with Social Security saying at our income, which is only $2,000 a month, but we make enough part-time that we qualify for this apartment, maybe we could file something that you could just write off the apartment rent. So we could do that. It's just a bad system. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for families. It's bad for individuals. And one thing about mentally ill people, once they gain their health, they're very creative, smart, fun people that contribute a lot to society.